These are the day 3 notes on our statistics unit. Today we're going to be looking at some measures of spread like range and IQR. We're also going to talk about a measurement called standard deviation. So the first part should be a little bit of a review for us. When we go back to what range and IQR are equal to, the range is referring to what you get if you take the maximum value in a list minus the minimum. So the range is going to be a specific number. There's also this value called the interquartile range, or IQR, which is what you get when you subtract the third and the first quartiles. A couple of rules of thumb when dealing with these two measurements. First of all, if you have a list of numbers, you always want to sort the numbers from smallest to largest before making these calculations. Otherwise, for example, in this list down here, if you were to calculate the range, if you were thinking the maximum is the last number and the minimum is the first number, you would do 47 minus 43, which is 4, and that's not the range here. Secondly, the range is not an interval. I know sometimes in English we say the range is between two numbers, but in math class the range is specifically addressing a specific number, not a list of numbers like 6 to 10, but what you get when you subtract them. In addition, when you calculate the range in IQR, show how you got your answer. So for example, if you're subtracting the numbers 10 and 6 to get the range, you would write 10 minus 6 equals 4. So we have this list of numbers here, and we're asked to find the range in IQR for this list of numbers. I would first strongly encourage you to put these numbers in numerical order, so that's what we did first. Once you have the numbers in numerical order, I like to find the median first, which is sort of the middle of this group of numbers. So as we count in from kind of the inside and outside, our first two numbers are 43 and 69, and then we'll just keep counting in. We've got 46 and 64, 47 and 61, 52 and 56, 54 and 55. So these are our two middle numbers. Since the median is going to be a specific value, we kind of take the halfway point in between these numbers as being the median, so that would be 54.5 in this case. So I'm going to draw a line kind of right here that splits our list into two groups. Now if your median was a specific number, let's say 54 was the middle number, I draw my line through 54, and then you'd have some number of numbers on the left of it and some number of numbers on the right of it. So wherever our line is, you should see the same number of numbers on either side. I have 6 numbers to the left and 6 numbers to the right. To find Q1, which we'll need to use to find the IQR, we're going to take the middle value of this group of numbers. So as I count in, we've got 43 and 54, 46 and 52. There's my first quartile, which is the middle of this group of numbers, which would be 47. That's your Q1. Here's our median. Find Q3, take the middle group of this upper group of numbers. So we have 55, 69, 56, 64, 61 is our middle number. I'm going to draw a line right through that 61. That is our Q3. The range should be easy to calculate. It's what you get when you take the maximum value minus minimum. So that would be 69 minus 43. Again, we're showing the work, and that means our range is 26. That's how far apart the minimum and maximum values are. The IQR is what you get when you subtract kind of the middle quarters of our data. So here's our first value. Our Q1 is kind of the first quarter. The median is like the second quarter, kind of like halftime. Here's your third quarter, and then the end of the game is at the end here. So we've got our IQR is 61 minus 47, and that's equal to 14. Again, show the work and how you got your values. When we're graphing our box and whisker plot, we want to show values that go as low as the 43 value, as high as the 69 value. And to do this, you could count by tens. So pick a nice number to start with. Don't start at 43. Nobody starts anything at 43. Start at something like 40 or 45. Now, if I start at 40, I could go 40, and maybe if I count by tens, 50, 60, 70. This would get all our values in here, but I think I've got room to spread it out a little bit. So if I count by fives at 40, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, that's a good way to kind of spread your data out. So if possible, let your data breathe, give it room to spread out, and always make sure that you're labeling the scale values on our number line like such. When we graph your box and whisker plot, we're going to plot the minimum and maximum. So 43 is around here, 69 is around here. I'm going to draw vertical lines at Q1 and Q3, so vertical line around 47, vertical line around 63, and we'll have a vertical line at the median, which is between 54 and 55, so just a little bit to the left of 55. The box of our box and whisker plot should connect Q1 and Q3 together with the median, this line that's kind of in between these values. And then our whiskers will extend from the Q1 value to the minimum and from the Q3 value to the maximum. And that's a nice little way of drawing a box and whisker plot. What region of the box and whisker plot represents the range? The range is 26, and that's the distance from the minimum to the maximum. So if you're thinking kind of from whisker to whisker, from here all the way across to here, that's where this 26 comes from. So that's the distance between the two whiskers. When it asks what region of the box and whisker plot represents the IQR is 14. That's the distance from Q1 to Q3. So that would be this distance here, which is the length of the box. The length of the box is 14. The final question asks if there's any outliers in our presidential age data. We're going to use our outliers test that we talked about yesterday. Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. We're going to calculate these values, and any numbers that are outside of the region that's kind of bounded by these values is going to be an outlier. We've already addressed what Q1 is. Q1 is equal to 47. So we're going to take 47 minus 1.5 times the IQR, which we said was 14. And I'm going to use my calculator to calculate out what that value is. That value equals 26. So we'll write that down. And then for the other value, we're going to take Q3, which was 61, plus 1.5 times the IQR. And we'll calculate that. For this value, we get 82. So if we have any ages for presidents that are not between 26 and 82, any values that are not in this region are outliers. And as we look at presidential ages, our youngest president at inauguration was 43 years old. Our oldest was 69 years old. We don't have any presidents that were younger than 26 or older than 82. So it appears in our list of data there is no outliers.